Nice to see you again.
She's a Chicagoan.
My wife and I vacationed up there for some time. Went to Logan. So much fun.
It's slowly coming back. We're ready to open up again.
Well, this was all before this, so I'm glad it's coming back. We'll be going back up again. There was I'm trying to think of the name of the exhibit. There was a man that had a huge house there.
I went from one room to the next room. I'm like, here's my son's socks.
What are they doing?
So where's Carlene?
Yeah, I forgot where I put
All right. Could I have your all's attention here for a minute or so? Harold Ray, can you get my attention there? Have your all's attention just for a minute or so, because there's some people here that we haven't seen before for a long time, and I wanted to introduce to you them. My son Guy, that's him back here, Guido George Alexander Connect Stephenson, and Guy's fine, and my daughter over here, Michelle, stand up. This is Michelle. And my granddaughter, Courtney Nicole. That's my granddaughter. And of course, they ask me once in a while when I'm out, Harold Ray. Of course, I'm not moving as swiftly as I used to, not thinking as swiftly either. But they asked me, they said, John, or I tell them, I said, I'm going to be 78 September the 4th. And I said, I know I'm getting old because my son's retired, and is the head of the revenue cabinet for Northern Kentucky. And then my daughter just retired about a year ago, from the health department of Northern Kentucky. And you really know you're getting old when your children are retiring. And there's something significant about that information. It sort of hits you in the head, and you're like, geez, that smacked me upside the head. And of course, the smartest move I ever made was Miss June Guyman Stevenson. And she will tell you, and I will publicly say in advance, most of the time, I'm the smartest move she ever made. Most of the time. Now, I'd like to go back to your all's table. Tell us who's there. I know that we've got some out-of-town guests here. Now, stand up and just tell us who you are.
I usually get the prize for coming the farthest. Our cousin from Las Vegas beat me out a time or two, but she's not here. So I'm Miriam Bingham Harris, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. And I brought my sweet sister-in-law, Samaya Bingham. Bingham. She wants to be a Bingham too, Harris. And she lives in Austin, Texas, and we flew in yesterday. And we were glad to get out of 100 degrees, but it's pretty hot and humid up here. But we're glad to be here.
Now, I want to tell you a little something here before they leave that table about her father, Bill Bingham. And he happened to be at the University of Kentucky the first year I went to the University of Kentucky. And, of course, we all know the tragedy that cost Aunt Erminie and Tim their lives, and Aunt Erminie and Uncle Bill. And I wanted to tell you, though, that before he passed away, he was the very first chairman of the horticulture department at the University of Kentucky, officially. And if it's the last thing I do, I want to get that recognized down there by the Department of Education, or Department of Agriculture. Because when I called down there to get a little information on him, they didn't have a record of him. And I was really upset about that, because very upset. And so I'm going to try to make that a point that it's in the historical records that he was the very first chairman of the horticulture department at the University of Kentucky. I went ahead and finished up at UK, and in 1970, took me several years later, and I really, really missed having him as an uncle. I can't tell you what a blow it was to my psyche, as it was to Miriam there, who survived it and went on to be the head lawyer for the Radio Shack company all across America, and has done an exemplary job representing the Bingham family. Well, see, I know those things, and that's part of my life. And of course, Kathy back there, and Uncle Wilbur, and Aunt Paul.
Honey, Kathy's here.
Oh, Kathy here. Oh, Kathy's here. Kathy and
Billy.
Kathy here,
Hi, Billy.
and Pat, and
Grace Ellis.
and Grace Ellen
She's hiding.
from the Don Bingham, the Wilbur Bingham family. And Pat, tell us a little bit about Uncle Wilbur. Talk to Kathy. Well, I know that Pat she's modest, but she talks very little, but she can say a whole lot because she's very exemplifies Uncle Wilbur's wife, Aunt Pauline, who was administrator at the hospital for many years. Now tell us a little.
So Dad was, he was a high school teacher, and then he was a principal here in Grant County.
Right.
And that was about the same time he also was in the armed forces during World War II. He was ready to be shipped over a few different times and ended up serving here on posts in the United States during the war, and then stayed in Army Reserves after that.
For many years.
For many years.
And was head of the Army Reserves.
Head of Army Reserves, and Lieutenant Colonel was the way he retired. And then eventually he became a rural letter carrier because it gave him more time on the farm. And Mom and Dad lived in Crittenden for years. Mom was the administrator at the hospital, Grant County Hospital, for years. And they've been gone about 11, 12 years now. And we miss them terribly.
Absolutely. Now, anything else you want to say, Pat? Okay, well,
And my dad was her teacher.
and
Oh, did you hear that?
what's that?
Say that
My
again.
dad was her teacher.
Your dad was her teacher. Isn't that wonderful? And that was Aunt Fredericka. And we're going to get to Aunt Fredericka in a minute here, so don't be impatient on me here. And now I'm talking about Uncle Hugh. I want to say a word for him. Is anybody here from Uncle Hugh's family today? Not. I think they've gone all on to heaven. And but anyway, Uncle Hugh was the agriculture teacher at Grant County High School for many, many years. And I had the greatest respect for him in that capacity, and him and Aunt Betty were great contributors to all of Grant County's development. And in fact, the whole Bingham family was. And then over to Uncle Don Bingham, who's gone on to heaven, and we still have Aunt Fredericka. And before I get to Don, though, I want to mention Aunt Ruth Bingham, who was a school teacher in Carroll County for many, many years. In fact, I went down there with Miss June one time and had a tree planted in her memory there at the school where she taught. And I was very proud to do that for her because she was an excellent teacher and an excellent lady. And Uncle Gerald was one of the funniest gentlemen you ever met. He owned the Tandy Eckler Funeral Home in Carrollton. And I never will forget the night that we stood with him at dinner one night, and Aunt Ruth shot him with a water gun that June put him up to doing. That's my wife June that did that, who can tell you that story later.
Great story.
A great story. But then Uncle Don Bingham, who was soil conservationist for Carroll County, for Gallatin County, and part of the time for Grant County. And not only that, but he was an excellent man in the Gideons all across northern Kentucky and Kentucky. And a lot of people don't remember those things, but being an old history teacher, I do remember them. Harold Ray, anything you want to say about Uncle Don? that you're missing? Carlene, can you fill in anywhere there? Well, wonderful children is all I can say.
Amen.
And Harold, Ray, and Carlene, and all the Don Bingham connections. Grace Ellen. Now, Grace Ellen, you're the same age as, you're hiding back there. And you're the same age, Grace Ellen, as my daughter, Michelle, up here. And I don't know how Michelle ever tolerated me, frankly. Oh, by the way, I have two other daughters, too, that weren't able to make it and this time, but one was going to try to come. That's Pamela Archambault.
Right, you getting family over here, Dale's Hodges and their family.
Well, I'm going to talk about them in a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But then I got Holly Smith Johnson, my daughter, and Pamela Smith Archambault, and a daughter. And I am old. And that's that story. Both of them retired or were close to retirement from Toyota Corporation, which Toyota was one of the companies I helped bring in when I was with Martha Lane Collins as Commissioner of Motor Vehicles and Deputy Secretary of Transportation. That just means a chief bottle pusher and water washer, Now, have I missed anybody?
Dale.
Well, we're going to get to him. First, we're going to mention Dale. Dale at Bethesda Community Church. Now, the small world we live in, you would have thought that June and I would have found some church to go to that didn't have a family member in it. But June sent me out one day scouting. And I was going someplace, and I forget where it was. She said, stop in there at that little church over there on Mount Zion Road and see what you think about it. And I said, well, just go in by myself? She said, yeah, go in and check it out. And I said, okay. So I dropped in their church service over there, and I sat through the service and said hello to a few people, and they were very welcoming, very loving. And I went home, and I told June, I said, I think you'll love it over there. They're very nice people. So she went back with me the next Sunday and greeted by everybody, including Dale. And I said, geez, I got a cousin here. Not only is he there, but he's a big shot in the church.
Oh, did you know we're a big shot in the church?
He always asks me.
I wouldn't call a deacon the big shot.
Well, anyway.
It's an
hard worker.
It's an important role.
So it's a little church there called Bethesda Community Church, and we've been going there now about 3 years, and they've tolerated us for 3 years. And that's not an easy job.
They are Christians.
They are Christians. And anyway, and our friends from Latonia Baptist Church over here, our family members.
Dale and Pat talk about their family.
Dale, talk about your family.
I'm the only one from my family here, other than my aunt who's in the restroom right now.
Come on out here, we're going to get you.
Not like putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Yes, my mother who passed away in 2 weeks. It'll be 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
She was the last one. Last family reunion she was at. She passed away 2 weeks afterwards. So I'm still here representing the family.
Still here representing the family. And Debbie's back in the restroom, I think.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll catch her when she comes out. And Carlene, is there anything else? Anything else you want to say? Well,
I'm glad, help us, we can't get word out to the kinfolk. We don't have, contact people. Some of you are really good about getting that information out. Julie's daughters, I was not able, the phone numbers I had, and she called me on Martha did, when her mom had passed, and I always talked to Julia, but I couldn't get any of them, And Rita sent her greetings, but she has not had a memorial service for Bob, and she wanted to do that, she got home just before the COVID thing really hit.
Yeah.
She would have been in a nursing home for a long time, so she has a nice setup in her home, and she has somebody there with her 24/7. She's in a wheelchair. She has not been able to get out of the wheelchair completely, so one side, but for, because maybe next year she'll feel more like she can come. She was very emotional with the phone, and I went on and hurried up and got it off, because I just felt bad, for her. And she's always been a bubbly person.
Yeah.
So she would love to have been here with you all today, so.
Okay, well, wonderful. Now, while we're waiting on Debbie to get out of the restroom, I didn't say anything about my mom. And my mom was the oldest of the Bingham family. She was a Sunday school teacher and pianist at the little church where we went to, at Kenton Baptist Church. And before that, we went to Latonia Baptist Church down in Covington. And Brother Shelton and Brother Huss were the ministers. And I am still in the pictures of the old original kindergarten classes there. You can see them on my Facebook page. They did indoctrinate me, I must say, in the Baptist theology, and did a fairly good job on that, I'd say, because my mother named me after John the Baptist. Of course, I later found out he was beheaded. That was a little nervous for me. Could happen again. But anyway,
It's been close.
my mother, Garnette Bingham Stephenson, I have the honor and privilege of using from Uncle Don and Aunt Fredericka. They gave me a copy of my mother's poetry, verses that she wrote that were published in the 9-Star Literary Magazine in Grant County years ago. And I have used that one verse that she wrote as a sophomore at the old Crittenden High School. Almost every day in some capacity I've used it to print on Facebook and YouTube and use in the school systems, because its service to humanity is the best work of life, and give a lift to your fellow man. And that's what the Binghams have been all about, every one of them, from back to Reuben and Grace. And I guess it was 6 children altogether, Mom being the oldest. And that was the little church that I went to back many years ago when I gave my life to the Lord in 1956 at a Billy Graham crusade in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was hauled down there, Judy and I, and Judy does send her love. I'm going to try to call her in a minute or two here. Help me remember that, the brain's slipping on me. And anyway, it was Vernon Likens, John Grizel, Carl Covey, and Walter Roden, the deacons of that little one-room Baptist church that hauled Brother Kerger and his wife Polly to Louisville to hear Billy Graham preach. And he preached the service on, it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict, it's God's job to judge, it's my job to love. And I've tried to love every way I can think of, probably too many wives, but I misbehaved a little bit, but that's okay. You can sin and ask to be forgiven, can't you, Marion? And so 36 years ago, though, I found this one, and the good Lord said, better stick.
Coming Wednesday.
What's that?
This coming Wednesday.
This coming Wednesday is when we met, back, 36 years ago?
Yes.
36 years ago is when we met. But anyway, I came home after giving my life to the Lord and sang a song that was taught to me by George Beverly Shea and Cliff Barrows, and that sermon by Billy Graham. I'll give you one verse of that song. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be his than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today, than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. Now the subject that we're going to speak to now happens to be what the real song's about today, and that is the only living, remaining aunt or uncle that we have, and she is a present for all of us.
Amen.
Aunt Fredericka Bingham. Let's sing happy birthday to Aunt Fredericka Bingham. 92 years old. 92 years old. Years young. And join in with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Aunt Fredericka. Happy birthday to you. And many more. And Miss Debbie, now that you're out, we want to tell you, everybody loves somebody sometime. Makes no difference when or where or how. Everybody loves somebody sometime. And Debbie, it's your time right now. And that goes for our other friend over there too. Bless his heart, I heard him singing in church. And he was doing a good job. Praise the Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Nice to be. Anybody else want to say anything before I sit down and behave myself?
Well, sit down, maybe.
Sit down and behave myself. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you. I'll come back and see you.
Because I remember.
Good to see you. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you. You guys take care.
All right, honey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've seen you before. It's been a couple years. Yeah.
But he's been there 15 years. He's been hopped around.
I enjoyed that historical accounting of the whole family. That was great.
I'm glad I was able to do it.
Yes, I'm glad you were too.
God bless you.
I look forward to going on Facebook and
YouTube and seeing it.
YouTube and checking your stuff.
God bless you.
Yes.
Take care.
Get this recipe.
Save the recipe? Yeah, I don't think so.
Memo? Memo. I love you. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah.
Are you videoing? I'm excited.
Can I get that little one on film? Because I want to.
Say hi. Huh? Say hi.
Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you. Now you're part of the film history.
Say Steel. Yeah, his name is Steel.
Steel.
Like the chainsaw.
Like a chainsaw. Nice to meet you, Steel. They call me Big John. Hello, hello, hello. Just tell him it's the weird uncle.
I said I might have to because he's down in this one.
That's just gonna make him thirsty. No, he won't let go.
Question for you.
Love you. Huh?
But the good thing is you'll be able to use it for egg salad and other things that they don't keep for a long period of time.
I'm serious taking spaghetti and
I don't have a way to carry it.
I'll find it's the Oreos swap bags. I was going to bring some, I forgot.
Well, you know, I know where you live.
I'm craving. I'm going to try some and see what happens, Stephen. I'm going to try them and see what happens.
Yeah, I've never done it, so it might not be too bad.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad at all.
Of course it is.
I'm taping and taking pictures.
And you're like,
You know what meeting we're gonna have next year? 31st.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a fifth Sunday singing here.
So it's always the last Sunday.
It's the last
Did you ask
Sunday
her?
of July.
I did
Yes,
ask her.
you did. I didn't realize we had a fifth Sunday. You know, I'll have to seriously think about it because of that.